Welcome. I'm the DMENJedi. There's another Raid Shadow Legends video. And today we are in Pork Chop's account. This is an account takeover I did. He's a Patreon of mine, and we've been kind of talking about this for a little bit. And he was struggling to get the gear, struggling to get the silver, and really we didn't quite get there. So this video today is less about this crazy success that we have, and a lot more about how to work with not having a lot and things to look out for and things that you really need to know as far as bringing champions into your clan boss team. So I think this is going to be really educational and helpful for a lot of you guys that are struggling, maybe not even at Nightmare yet. Maybe you're struggling at Brutal or, wherever. I think this can be beneficial for you guys as we go about trying to find ways to, create synergy and make the most out of our teams. Really quick, before we get into that, though, I want to talk to you about this game. I've just been playing a little bit on the side for fun, and I think some of you guys might enjoy. So the game is DMENJedi the Defenders. It's a tower defense game with a lot of gotcha elements, and as far as tower defense games go, I'm really enjoying DMENJedi the Defenders. I think it's a very fun game, and the gotcha element really adds a lot of joy to it too. But the game itself is, you go into these campaigns and you have to defend against these waves of enemies, and all the different levels, all the different campaigns that you're going into, they usually follow some kind of tourist attraction, tourist destination in America, which is kind of neat to have that little aspect of it. I think there was a Hollywood in there, which was pretty fun to see for myself since I live out in LA. But there's also other things too. There's PvP gameplay in this as well, so you can actually do a lot of server versus server warfare, which is kind of an interesting concept and seems pretty fun. And you can always go and just do regular PvP battles across servers as well, which is kind of neat too. And then on top of it all, one of the things that kind of holding it all up is this card collection mechanic, the gotcha mechanic to the game, where you go to Valhalla and you summon a bunch of cards, you summon a bunch of champions, and you use those cards to level those champions up, get them started up even further, and constantly grow them. And those same champions are the ones that are going to be your tower defense champion. And so there's a whole bunch of them, right? You've got like Thor, Nobunaga, Cleopatra, one of my favorites, King Tut, Joan of Arc. You have champions like the Grim Reaper, who, if you watch the anime Ruby, you might recognize as Ruby, one of my favorites. Not only are they using their base skills while they're defending their little area as a tower, but you also have special abilities that you can activate during the fight to kind of save your bacon when you're about to lose, and that can be a really fun thing too. And they also have individual PvP skills as well that you can utilize. So if you use the code DMENJedi, you can get yourself some free shards to pull, some free gems to use, and it can be a whole heck of a lot of fun. So, D-Men, let's go. May the joy be with you. So let's go ahead, jump in, take a look at the champions and the gear that we had to work with today and the adjustments that we made to do it. Before we jump into that, I do want to let you guys know, just a reminder, if you enjoyed today's music, go ahead and hit that Soundstripe link down below. Use code DMENJedi, save yourself 15%. And also, if you guys are interested in other champions that you can use for decreased attack, I'm going to go over a list of them in a Game On video I have down below. So this is going to be geared towards rare champions and epic champions that maybe you're overlooking as good decreased attack champions for your clan boss. And you'll see why that's an important thing as we head into this. So let's take a look at the champions real quick. So this is the account that we had to work with. And you can see there's lots of great champions. There's even a bunch more legendary champions down here. There's like a ton of them and really, really good ones. The biggest issue though is if you look at all these champions that are level 60, none of them are decreased attack champions. The only ones that were here was Iron Brago, who is completely unbooked and is not going to be reliable unbooked. And the other one is Sepulchre Sentinel, who again is not fully booked. And it becomes really difficult to bring these kind of champions into these teams when they're not booked like that. It's the biggest problem with this game. It's the hardest part for everybody is getting books. They're not available nearly enough. We take too many of them for all these champions. It's a big problem. I'm not happy with it. But the reality is, without the books, the champions aren't going to be able to be used, and certainly not as well as we'd like to. There's a few that can do that. But for your decreased attack champions, you need to land that debuff. It's the most important debuff against the clan boss. And so we really had to find that, and I had to struggle. Now, the team he was using didn't have a decreased attack champion in it at all. He was doing about 7 million on Nightmare keys for damage, and that's fine. Like, we all have our progression spot. The issue with this is with the champions we had, I knew we should be doing more, And the trick was finding out how to use them, where to get the champions, all that. So we needed a decreased attack champion. These guys weren't booked. I couldn't use them. Not even all of them level 60. It's very difficult. So I ended up going a completely different direction, and I used Maneater. Now you might be going, why didn't you just use a budget unkillable? Well, the reason why is our only Painkeeper is level 40. Level 40 is just too low. The base HP, the base defense, we didn't have the gear for sure to get Painkeeper to 220 speed, not to mention getting the HP levels that we need on our Painkeeper. And I didn't think we had the gear actually to build out a full, even stun champion array to be able to use. So that was kind of out the window. Great build and lovely, but you do need the gear for it, and you need those champions leveled. So that wasn't viable. So what I ended up doing is I ended up using Maneater. Maneater is actually the first champion I ever used as a decreased attack champion, and he's really good at it. It basically, every time he crits, he's going to place a 1-turn decreased attack debuff on the enemy, the clan boss in this case. So if you have a counterattack team, that means you're going to have it up most of the fight. The key is that first AoE. It's before, unless Maneater's getting stunned and has a counterattack going on with it, it's very difficult to make sure that you ensure that that goes on, because he's going to use his Siphon skill, which does nothing for us but damage, and he's going to use the Unkillable, which that works too, but getting the timing of those things can be really difficult. So that's who we're using, and that is the weak spot of this team. When we get a Sepulchre Sentinel leveled up, when we get an Iron Brago leveled up, it'll make things so much easier. The other issue is we weren't booked on almost all these champions, most especially Valkyrie. Valkyrie's A2 wasn't booked, so her cooldown on that counterattack is 4 turns. That becomes really difficult because now we have to get her to a very fast speed in order to use her. Well, thankfully, Valkyrie has a good base speed, and thankfully we have most of the best gear on her, so we were actually able to get Valkyrie up to 228 speed, which was enough for us to tune it. Now you can see the defense isn't nearly as high as we would like it. I mean, this is great for almost any champion, but for Valkyrie, there is no limit. We're really aiming for like 6,000 defense to make her shield that much bigger. That wasn't the case here. So we dealt with what we could. We tried to make it work as best we could. We do have a Draco, but again, the gear levels are hard, so the defense for Draco is only at 2,500. Good crit rate and damage, good accuracy, all that's great. 178 speed, but that defense is just so low, and it's very hard to get it higher. We're going to be bringing in Steel Skull, and Steel Skull is one of my favorites. As you know, Steel Skull does a variety of things. Poison on the A1. She does have a cleanse, but it only if someone's low on health, so she doesn't use it automatically, so we really don't take that into account. But what else she has is this increased defense buff for all allies with an AoE heal. We didn't have nearly enough lifesteal gear. We just didn't have lifesteal gear to put on these champions, so we had to use this instead, and that's going to give us an increased defense buff, help us stay alive, and also heal us so that we can survive a little bit longer. And the reason why I have it here, you can kind of see her stats. We have her at 205 speed, good accuracy for Nightmare. Again, HP level, defense level is way too low. The reason why we can have Steel Skull at 205 and still have her go on a 4-3 ratio, that means she's taking 4 attacks for every attack the clan boss takes. So like she's taking 4 attacks for every 3 the clan boss takes. So basically in a full cycle, she's going to be able to use all of her skills. That's key. The reason we're going to make this work is we're going to bring in Vergus. Now, Vergus, as I've said before, is one of my favorite champions because he's such a great carry, makes everything so much easier. His big appeal is this ability here, the Aegis, which puts an increased speed buff on one champion for 3 turns. We're going to put that on Steel Skull as our leader, and what that's going to do is allow us to stay alive, allow Steel Skull to go a lot faster than that 205 speed, and it keeps everything going in sync. He also has an ally protection ability for everybody. It's really strong champion, really strong skills, great for clan boss. And with that combination of Vergus, Valkyrie, and Steel Skull, we have do a pretty good job of staying alive. Now, with the poisons of Steel Skull, the poisons from Draco, we have a pretty full debuff bar until somebody dies, which happens way too early. But, I think this is a pretty solid build. Now, there's lots of ways to make this better. I would prefer to have any decrease attack champion over Maneater, and the reason why is Maneater's not consistent. Remember, it's got 3 skills. These 2 skills kind of interrupt things, And so we're not getting decreased attack every single turn. That's important. We need that every single turn. So I'd rather a Coffin Smasher over Maneater in this situation to keep that on consistently 100% of the time. Steel Skull is great, but because Valkyrie's not booked, we're not getting the benefit on Valkyrie's shield of that increased defense buff that Steel Skull brings. It's a bit of an issue. Obviously, if we could have that before, or have that on Valkyrie before she casts her shield, that would be so much better. And that's why if we can get Valkyrie to a 3-turn cooldown, the Vergis comp is so good because it allows that to happen. Allows you to have the increased defense on the team for the second AoE with ally protection, and allows that increased defense to carry over for Valkyrie to put before the first AoE, so her shield is really, really large. Like I said, we don't have that right now. There's lots of options to be leveled up in this team, right? We have Sepulchre Sentinel that we could substitute in directly for Steel Skull, and that's what I would do. We also have a couple ally protection champs. There's a Skull Crusher here. We have a Ursuga Warcaller who would be fantastic. We have Alton. We have Vizier. We have Iron Brago. We have lots of champions that can make this better, but we're just not there right now. So once we get those people leveled up, booked, and ascended, this comp is going to be great. This is the type of team, this is why I like using Vergis comps, because we start here at Nightmare, in the beginnings of Nightmare. And this same team can take this account all the way to a 2-key Ultra Nightmare team. Just by changing out champions, improving the gear over time. That's how positive this team can be. It can grow into a 2-key Ultra Nightmare team. And one of the reasons why I love this is you can keep the same squad and just kind of interchange champions as you get better, interchange gear as you get better gear, and kind of build with that. And it's fun to see that kind of progress, and it gives you a very clear way to approach that. Now, because we have Valkyrie going on a 4-3 ratio, because we have Steel Skull in there and Vergis, the speed requirements are very specific. So our Maneater is going at 178 speed. There is no variance on that. You can see only 2400 defense, way too low. We have our Draco going at 178 speed. Again, no variance on that. 2500 defense, again too low. The HP is way too low, 25,000. But, I try to maximize the damage so we can get some damage going while we're alive. I could easily bump that, but this comp has a very, very low threshold of surviving. And so, really, until we can get Draco's HP higher and build the rest of the team up, it's going to be a struggle. And so that's one of those things. Now, we do have crit damage gloves. We might benefit from putting crit rate gloves on instead and just building more defense throughout the comp. We might just benefit from putting defensive gloves on Draco and trying to let him survive longer and let the poisons do the work. We really didn't have that luxury on this build. And I'm out of silver. There's no more silver to play with, so I can't really go that route. But these are alternate ways you can build these champions to try and survive longer, last longer, let the poisons do the work rather than the raw damage itself. So there's lots of possible ways you can go about making these teams better, but this is the essence of it. Take what you have and do the best job you can with that to make a clan boss team. So as we go in, one of the best parts about this is we can start with Valkyrie's counterattack right from the jump, which is great. Then we're going to need to delay Steel Skull, basically 2 turns, and we're going to need to delay Vergis 1 turn as well. You can notice I just got the decreased attack out with Maneater, very important. Now, in order for Maneater to use his decreased attack, he has to crit, so we just need 100% crit rate on him. Here we go, we're going to put the ally protection. Now, we need to manual this part. We're going to put it on Steel Skull right here. Oh, we're going to, actually, sorry, first attack, we're just going to wait. We're going to A1 with Vergis right there. This next attack with Vergis will need to manual that ally protection onto Steel Skull, as we have to manual. Basically, we need a manual through this first cycle. Valkyrie gets that A1 going. Here we're going to A1 with Steel Skull. And Maneater's going to just put that up one more time. Get the poisons out from Draco. And now here we need to use this Aegis skill. We're going to put it right on Steel Skull. That's important that we make sure we put it on. That's who gets the speed buff. And then Valkyrie's going to take one more turn. And this is all the setup. Now, this actually comes into sync basically on turn 6 or 9, depending on how you want to look at it. At this point, we can click auto. We want Steel Skull to use that increased defense, this A3 skill. And this is what's going to happen right there. Perfect. And so now we're going to be pretty close to in sync. We are in auto at this point, but it takes a little bit to get there. So here comes that stun. We have it blocked right now. That's fine. It won't always be blocked. And you're going to see Valkyrie puts up the shield right there. Draco goes. No big deal. As we continue moving forward, there you go. You can see everything kind of continuing on as we move forward here. Steel Skull's not quite there in sync yet. She's going to take a double turn right here before the stun, not on this attack. And once that happens, after that, we're going to be in sync. You'll see Valkyrie putting up the increased defense right before the AoEs. Steel Skull's going to put up the increased defense right before the second AoE, which will carry over to the stun. Now, like I said, Valkyrie's taking a double turn right before the stun, so the increased defense from Steel Skull drops off one turn too early. If Valkyrie took a double turn at a different point, that would be better for us, but unfortunately this is just how this one's going to have to be. Now you can see the debuff bar is pretty full. We didn't have decrease attack up. That is going to be an issue. We need to make sure we have that up all the time, and that's just going to be a thing that's going to be a problem with this comp. There's going to be some RNG involved primarily with that. Having Steel Skull there gives us some added poisons, which is good, but it can't overflow the debuff bar. So like Draco's poisons have already fallen off. It's just kind of part of the game as well. We're going to have to sort of live with that part of it. The nice part is Man-Eater does give us unkillable occasionally, which is nice. It's just not regular. And so timing that out is problematic. But you can see we got the decreased attack out. And we're pretty good here. So we're going to go ahead and get that shield going. Perfect. And at this point, we are fully in sync. You can see Steel Skull takes a double turn here. And this second attack, as we get the counters going on right now, this second attack, Steel Skull is going to place the increased defense buff for us, and that'll last us through the stun, which is great. So yeah, this is obviously better if you can bring the Sepulchre Sentinel booked. It's better if you can have like an Alton instead of Man-Eater as well, or an ally protection champion like say an Ursuga. I think that would be fantastic for this type of a build. So there's a lot of flexibility when working with Vergis comps. This one's just kind of an alternate one, trying to make Valkyrie with her 4-turn cooldown work in sync with it. But that's kind of what you got to do. You got to see, what do we have? How do we make it work? Now here again, we don't have decrease attack. It's a major issue. When we lose people, it will be on that first AoE. It will be because we don't have decrease attack, and we're just going to take a lot more damage and not really be able to survive it. So that's the negative with this team. The second one I'm not worried about. We get counterattack. It's going to be up every time. We have the ally protection from Vergis too. It's that first AoE that's going to be the issue. So I'll get myself off the screen, and you guys can finish watching the run. There you go, guys. I don't know if you're paying attention, but turn count 25, we didn't have decreased attack up, and as a result, we wiped. That's pretty much the big problem there. So we were doing pretty solid damage. I mean, 17.5 million damage is not bad. It's a huge improvement over the 7 million we were doing before. And if we can get Valkyrie booked, the shields she's going to put up are going to be like twice as big. If we can get a reliable decreased attack champion, we'll be able to survive another 10 turns, I think, pretty easy. And this will be a very easy 2-key Nightmare team, even with these low defense levels. Now, one of the other issues is Steel Skull is a solid healer honestly, but not a great healer. If we had a leech champion, that would be a huge improvement for this team. Or if we had lifesteal gear on everybody, which I would prefer to have, that would be a huge improvement as well. But we don't have either of those things, so this is kind of where we're at. Now you can see Draco's doing the majority of the damage, but everybody else, even just with the Warcaster procs, is getting about 2 million damage, which is not too shabby. There's a lot of ways to make this team better. And we just need to get those champions and need to level them up. You know, that's the thing. It's books in this game. And it's not always about the best champions. They don't have to be legendaries. Like I said, if we had a Coffin Smasher, we would have lasted longer than having a Man-Eater in there. You know, so there's definitely ways you can go about building these teams and making them more successful just by getting that gear level up, getting the books in your champions. It's so very important. So hopefully this was something a little bit different, a little bit more educational. This is a more traditional clan boss team, and it's a struggle when you're at low levels. I get that. But, you know, recognize where you're at. You know, this account is barely at nightmare level. I mean, it has the champions for it, but it's the gear. The gear is everything, guys. And we didn't have enough speed in substats. We didn't have enough speed boots in the appropriate sets. It made it a little bit difficult to get to the results that we really wanted to. So we had to find ways around that. Using Vergis is a great cheat code. I really enjoy doing that, and I thought that worked really well in this scenario. I would have loved to use Vergis and slow actually Valkyrie down, but we had to make sure she didn't take the stun, and so that wasn't really a viable option for us. So there are definitely ways to get around these things. But it's challenging, and it comes down to the gear. So, you know, the best thing you guys can do is just farm gear. That's really the thing I recommend wholeheartedly. And this account was really lacking on lifesteal gear. And one of the things I did early on in my account, and I think this is important to show you guys. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong spot. I think this is important because a lot of people neglect this. So let me minimize myself here. Go to campaign. Go to brutal campaign. Palace of Aravia. Come here. Farm speed boots here. While you're leveling up your guys, just do it here. Yes, you won't get the same XP level, but if you can get 5 sets of 5 or 6 star speed boots, it will do wonders for your gearing and make your account that much better. You can do the same with gloves and chest pieces. And I think even more importantly, do that in Valdemar Straits. Go here, farm boots, farm chest pieces, farm gloves, get defensive chest pieces, get defensive gloves, get crit rate gloves, get speed boots. These things are huge. And if they get speed substats, even better. Those are incredibly valuable. I still have gear that I farmed from there. And make sure they're all 5 and 6 stars so they will scale into the end game, because I can tell you they do. I still have those pieces from when I farmed that because they do scale into the end game. All you need is speed on your boots. It doesn't matter what the subsets are most of the time. You just need the speed until you're really at end game level. It doesn't matter. And even then, a lot of your B and C champions, the ones that we use for Doom Tower or Secret Rooms or Faction Wars, they don't need great substats. They just need to get to a speed level so they can use their skills, right? So that becomes a really good way to like improve the gear level that you have. Not everybody can farm, 10,000 energy on Dragon. I get that. I couldn't do that all at once. So this is a great way to supplement that because the bottom ones are so hard to get. And think about it. When you're on dungeons, you're farming Dragon, there's like 12 different gear sets you can get. 1 in 12 chance that it's lifesteal or that it's speed. And then you still have a 1 in 6 chance that it's going to be the right type of gear. Well, this, you can skip both of those parts, and now all you're rolling for is the main stat and the star level. Becomes a lot more efficient trying to get those pieces of gear, especially early on. So just keep that in mind, something you guys can look forward to in the future. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you enjoyed the music, that soundtrack link's down below. Check out that game on video I'll have in the comments. That's going to be a great way to see some other decreased attack champions that you guys might be overlooking and really shouldn't. And it is the most important debuff you can bring to the clan boss. More than poison, more than decreased defense or weaken. You got to get that decreased attack out there to help you survive. If you guys want a takeover, just like Pork Chopped had, feel free. Hit, just like these folks up here did, hit up my Patreon. I love to do coaching, which can help you really learn about the game, and I do enjoy doing takeovers as well. So hit up my Patreon, find the right tier, sign up there, and we'll get your account doing better. That's all we can ask for, right? So good luck to you guys in your clan boss runs going forward. Till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.